Hey guys, what's going on? This is Derek Larger, and today we're going to kick back up with some more sports talk. Now, this video is a little bit different, as you can tell from the background that's being put on, kind of playing with some visual effects right now. So, if you guys like it or don't like it, just comment and let me know. I'm trying to think of some different things to do. Well, obviously, this is the dorm room, not a whole lot. Mainly my roommate's part of the room behind me, but I'm coming to you live from my laptop here, and today we're going to discuss a little bit of things about that I'm liking going on or not liking in the sport world going on right now. Excuse me. We'll talk a little bit today about LeBron James and his comments towards Charles Barkley. And we'll also talk about the Colts and their hiring of their new GM, Chris Ballard. So, let's kick off with what was said earlier about Charles Barkley and LeBron James. Charles Barkley, after the loss that the Cavs took to the Mavericks last night, Charles Barkley went on to say that LeBron was a whiner and was basically stating how LeBron didn't need another playmaker, how he didn't like that LeBron was saying all these things about how he needs another playmaker when he's got a decent roster. And he said that, is he not willing to compete and that sort of thing. It was strictly basketball, but it felt a lot different to LeBron James, and he went off on a very personal level and started saying how started bringing up instances from Charles Barkley's past, and said how Charles Barkley was never really devoted to basketball and how he had so many troubles in his life and so many other things. I could go into the full story, but I'll get into that a little bit later. But, as I'm sure most of you probably heard the comments by now, my take on this is, I think it's nothing more than just, badgering between two people. I mean, I'm going to give it from both sides. Charles Barkley has always been known to say how it is. And, a lot of people will agree with what he's been saying. A lot of people will. I kind of agree with what he's saying. I don't agree with the whining part. I don't agree with the competitive thing, how he's not competing. But, yeah, the whole thing with LeBron saying he needed another playmaker is kind of crappy to me. But I'll get more into that in a second. I can kind of see where he's coming from. He says it how it is, and it's just how he's always been. But let's get into LeBron's point on this. And I'm going to go all the way back here. You're LeBron James, who came into the NBA at 17 to 18 years old. You're now in your 14th season playing in the NBA. You are now 32 years old. And you are still leading the league in minutes per game at 37.5 minutes per game, 38 minutes per game. Which is, pretty good compared to some other people that play in this league. He leads the league, even in Russell Westbrook and James Harden and some of these other players. And you're looking around you right now, and you've seen that Golden State is on a tear right now. They are playing lights out. You can tell, LeBron James is saying in his head, damn, we're screwed, man. We're screwed unless we turn this thing around. And so he's doing his best out there. I will agree there's been times he's stunk. I will say that. He's not played defense the greatest, and he's sometimes been turning the ball over. But when I look back at overall productivity and who's trying the best, do I think he's still the best player on the team and is putting the most into it? Yes. But despite Kyrie Irving scoring a lot of points recently, last night against the Mavericks, Kyrie was basically a no-show. He scored 20 points, or scored 19, but didn't have much else to really help the team out. LeBron had a near triple-double, was 1 rebound and 1 assist away from a triple-double. And you're LeBron James, and you're looking at this, and this is the worst slump as a team that you've had in 10 years. They've lost 8 games this month. They didn't even get a 500 record this month. And that's never happened in 10 years with LeBron James. And they've lost more games this month than the Golden State Warriors have lost all season. So LeBron's looking around, and he's looking at the productivity of this team, and he's saying, what is going on? Nothing is happening. I'm trying really hard to help this team out. I want to help bring another championship to this city. But you look at Kyrie Irving has been pretty good. He's been the same old Kyrie Irving. But Kevin Love has been injured. Kevin Love's shot is gone. He hasn't been able to hit threes a day in his life since the New Year's. And then you got J.R. Smith is hurt as well. That's your sharpshooter. That's your defender on the outside. Then you got Tristan Thompson, who's been doing great on the boards. But then again, he's still not an offensive player. He's not a guy that's going to score a lot of points. And then you go ahead and you got Richard Jefferson, who comes off the bench. He's a pretty good shooter, and he moves the ball pretty well, but his shot is sometimes off. He's not a guy that's going to get you 15 points in a game, and he's sometimes a defensive liability. He has not looked good defensively. Iman Shumpert is probably the only other bright side besides Kyrie Irving and LeBron James, I could say. Iman Shumpert's been playing good defense. He's been hitting 50% from the three-point line in these last 9 games that the Cavs have seemed to struggle in. And Channing Frye, whose shot has seemed to dismember a little bit, and he's a defensive liability, and he is not worth anything on that. And then you got a bunch of other players that don't really contribute. So everyone says, oh, the big 3, they're really good. Why are they so worried? Well, let's see. Kyrie Irving has been making shots, but he hasn't done much else. LeBron James is trying to do everything that he can, which he does. Kyrie Irving's not even a great defensive player. Let's just say that. Kevin Love has been consistently hurt, and he's not been making the offensive numbers that we normally see from him. And besides Tristan Thompson and everywhere else, everyone seems to not get it. I mean, LeBron has every right to be mad at what Charles Barkley has been saying about him, because he's been out there trying to make things happen, and when you're going through this tough stretch, and then Barkley takes a shot at him like that, it's hard to understand. I mean, and so back to the point of this whole argument. I don't agree, now that I think about it, I don't agree with how LeBron James took personal shots at Charles Barkley for this. But I do agree with him taking a stand on Charles Barkley, because LeBron is still the face of the league. He still has put the time and effort to try and bring this team back, and unfortunately, it's just not working for him. And that's pretty much all I have to say on that one. Now, let's talk about the next subject in mind of the Colts hiring Chris Ballard, the GM. As you know, it's been a big story over ESPN. The Colts GM spot has brought a lot of attention because it's a big job. And Chris Ballard, a Chiefs executive for the last 3 years, was brought back for a second interview over the weekend to get another interview with him, and was hired on Sunday to be the new GM for the Colts. And many people were saying how Pagano was going to lose his job if Ballard got hired. But as I watched the press conference yesterday, Monday, about when they introduced Chris Ballard. And I definitely must say I was welcomed by what I heard from him. He didn't say anything about firing Pagano. He said, no, he's always been that guy. He's going to be the guy, at least for this year, and we're going to see where this season takes us. We want to see this team succeed, and we think Pagano is the one to make it happen. And then a couple of things that he tapped on was how defense wins games and defense wins championships, and how I don't want to focus on Andrew Luck. I want to focus on the team. It was more about, with Grigson, it was all about what can we put around Andrew Luck to make him happy and not make him leave. Now, Chris Ballard has a different approach in mind. He wants to make everyone better on the roster. He wants to put an entire roster together and make this team worthy of a championship again. And I just loved hearing all the things he was saying about him. And I just love how he was when it came to that. I must say it was a pretty good hire from what I hear. I've heard a lot of people say how highly they think of Chris Ballard in the way that he's been able to help find playmakers, especially for Kansas City. You know, you brought in Tyreek Hill, you brought in Travis Kelce, and you brought in a couple of others. So he definitely knows how to bring in playmakers. He knows how to find them. Now, should Colts Nation be all up in arms and say we're going to win big? No, because we haven't yet seen what he's capable of doing. We definitely think it's better than it's an upgrade from what Grigson was, but I think that it's going to take a season, maybe two, before we find out for real whether or not Chris Ballard's going to make something happen. He even admitted it. He's going to make mistakes, and I know he's going to make mistakes. He's going to make mistakes coming up in this upcoming draft. He's going to make mistakes coming into this combine, and he's going to make mistakes on managing this team. But that's the human nature that we love. We get to make mistakes, but he gets to own them. He will own them, is what he said in his press conference, and I certainly hope that's what it is, instead of passing the blame like Grigson did on Andrew Luck when they signed him to that long deal, and then said that it was Andrew Luck's fault that we can't get any new players on defense. He's not going to do that. He said we're going to work together as a team, and I definitely like what I heard from him. And let's go ahead and go to this next topic while we're on it, since Super Bowl weekend is coming up. I know it's a very big weekend coming up. You got the Atlanta Falcons and the New England Patriots. Obviously, you have number 12, Tom Brady, coming back to possibly make history and win his 5th Super Bowl. Do I think he'll do it? Yes. Do I want him to? No. I am actually picking the Falcons with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones and that young, studded defense. And the reason I pick the Falcons is because I think they can match New England's offensive productivity. In fact, I think they can actually beat it. I think they have more weapons than what New England has, and especially in the run game. And I think that they can match up with New England's defense better. I also think that many people say, oh, Tom Brady's going to throw another 45 on this defense. I don't think so. I think he'll probably get in the 28s maybe. But I think that this defensive stud defense that everyone seems to be counting out is going to prove a little more than what they're worth. I mean, this is the same defense that went at Green Bay. Now, here's the thing. Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers was sacked the fewest times by any quarterback this whole season. And Tom Brady is surely up on that list. But one thing that you noticed when it came to that game, Aaron Rodgers was sacked 3 times and was hit about 15 times and knocked down almost a dozen times. Now, I don't know if you all saw, but he got knocked pretty hard. He got hit pretty good. And there's something about that front 7 of Atlanta that loves to get after the quarterback. Now, I know it's different because the system that Tom Brady's in allows him to get the ball off faster, and it's going to work better for him. But I think that Atlanta will find a way to get enough pressure on Brady to rattle him for a couple of possessions and get him to reconsider throwing the ball deep. And the chip is on Chris Hogan now, because everyone's saying, oh, Chris Hogan matched the stats of Julio Jones the other weekend. Yeah, but now everyone's looking for him now. Everyone's looking for him. And Julian Edelman. And I think that the Falcons will have a game plan set and ready for this. And the one thing that Atlanta does better, or just as good as the Patriots, is not only running the ball, but being able to throw the ball to the running backs. They have such a wide open playbook that it's just crazy. I see it even more developed than the Patriots. But we'll get to that in another video sometime this next week. I wanted to thank you all for viewing. Make sure you subscribe, and make sure to hit the like button and everything else, and give me comments on what it is that you'd like to hear from. I'm Derek Larger, and I will see you guys later.